Here? Okay. Hi, my name is Suresh Babu. I manage a small group of developers focusing on commerce applications. I think the name is a misnomer because our team does more than commerce and a little less than commerce. So in the commerce arena, we are not doing commerce applications. That explains why we are doing less than commerce. And we do electronic program guide and some other applications that are not in the commerce arena proper. So today I want to talk about two things: the content and ad targeting services in TV Pack Server, and also about electronic program guide in TV Pack Server. To start off, we will do the content ad targeting. In this session, we are going to talk about the different kind of advertisements that we support in the TV server. We will talk about two different categories: what we are going to support in 1.0 time frame, and what are the things we are thinking about for beyond 1.0. So you just have an idea of the direction that we are heading on. And then we'll talk about some design, and finally we also will talk about some of the targeted content delivery as against advertisements. All the different parameters can be used to target content. How much of a granularity we get on that. And for any questions. As I'm going through, if you have any questions, please stop and ask me those questions as well. In 1.0, we support two major types of advertisements, if you would. Let's start with the banner ads first, because we all know that what it is. It's basically any small window of content space on your applications that gets filled with an advertisement. It's called banner advertisement or topic ad. So in this specific case, applications called content ad targeting services gets a piece of content and plugs that into the content as they go. That's how the banner ads work. The second type of advertisement, which is more specific or specialized to TV and TV Pack Server, is the source part advertisement. What that is, when a user is browsing the web, let's say the user goes to Microsoft.com. The moment the user visits Microsoft.com, the proxy delivers a page. At the same time, the proxy checks a list of web pages to see if it is something important. Like, for example, joesgarage.com would not be a well-known URL. How about Microsoft.com or .com or Ford.com are well-known addresses that we can map them categories. So when that is true, the proxy server tells the box, all right, there's something important and interesting about this specific URL. Go talk to the source part ad, see if you can get a targeted ad for this specific URL. And then as the user is viewing the web page, the set-top box keeps talking to the server. In this case, it's going to be the source part server. And it's going to say, all right, here's the URL, give me an ad that pertains to that URL. And then at that time, we take that URL, we massage that, and we get categories. In this case, it may be for computers and software, maybe two categories that may be matching to Microsoft.com. And then we use that as target parameters and go get some ads that pertain to that URL. Now, then what happens to the ad? The ad gets delivered to the client stores that, doesn't do anything about it. When the user goes to, say, Toyota.com from that point on, we call this a domain transition, going from one domain to the other domain, which typically takes a longer time frame to get the content in there. At that time, the box may show the ad. Again, the box may show the ad, depending upon the latency that the box is experiencing. The box decides whether to show that or not. So there are two kind of complexities in that. Number one, when we give the ad, we cannot be sure they were going to be shown to the user, so we do not track that on ad delivery. And later, how long the user gets to view that, we don't know about. So there are some thresholds that are set in the client. Like, for example, if the user gets to see that for a second and a half, it's not counted as valid time that we can count. If the user saw that for 3 seconds, we say, all right, we can count that, but at the same time, the ad should be seen for a total of 15 seconds or more to be counted as an impression. So the box does the job of accumulating all the time this ad was shown to the user. If the amount of time exceeds the minimum result, if it is shown 3 seconds or more, it starts adding that up, and when it's shown for 15 seconds or more, it calls the server later and then reports that as an impression. So that's all the dynamics involved in the spot ad. Both of those ads are supported in 1.0 frame. We also have targeted content. The targeted content is anything that let's say you have an app. You don't want to fill a space with advertisements, but you want to put your content. At the same time, you want that to be targeted. You want that page to look different for different demographic of the user, that you could use the same engine, same interface for delivering your own content. That is targeted content. And beyond 1.0, we are thinking about ads and video streams. like if a national broadcaster has a slot that the local broadcaster has purchased, then we will be able to do a targeted video ad, just insert that in that point. We'll be also able to do what is called a click-through to video ad. It looks more like a banner ad, but you click on that, it takes you to a full motion video ad that you can see. And then we also, full motion video ads are more like for if you have a box that is not on the cable or satellite link, it has some time to connect. Whenever the time there, we could show those ads. So all those video-related ads, we're planning for that beyond 1 point time frame. Maybe that 1 point of question.
Using video flash, are we having the transcoding in the server? So if somebody wants to put a video ad, they give us their normal source of video, whatever it is, and then we serve it down to the box. Are we using that format? Or
Right. Right now, we do not do anything on the video ads. For the 1 point of time frame, we're not. But for what we're planning, we are thinking more like a streaming video, and we've not worked out all the details. By the way, the question was, what is our planned media for video ads, whether we're going to do any flash transformation or not. We've not worked out those yet. But the direction is to go with the streaming video for delivery, and no details have been worked out at this point.
The mechanism you just described for targeting the content almost seems like a high probability of putting Toyota ads in front of somebody who's going Ford or putting, competing people together. So if you have content partners,
right? So
you've got a lot of people going to your content partners, but you've got other advertisers. I mean, aren't you sort of setting up conflict between your content partners and your advertisers using that type of a model?
Okay, the question was, looks like the targeting process may, if competition's ad, like for example, when you are going to Ford.com, you might go to Toyota.com, and the user clicks on that ad, and the user ends up going to Toyota.com. It means more like a hijack user from where they're really going. So I'm not setting up a conflict. Number one, the situation is that we do that after the fact. Like, for example, you go to Ford, you don't do a Toyota.com ad at that time. But we capture that fact, and when we do transition, at that time we show the ad. But it's quite possible that the user may try to go to Volkswagen at that time. But we are not really doing any protection against that. In terms of a topical ad or a banner ad, we can specify content that will not get put in there. Like, for example, if we have an app that has 2 ads sitting next to each other, we don't want that to have Ford and Toyota side by side. And that can be done by targeted expressions that we will be talking. So,
I think the target is first of all, they have control of the network operator, and they have control over which sites are targeted and which sites aren't. They also have control over which categories their ad campaigns are targeted to. So they can choose to do that if they want, or they can choose not to do that. So it's under their control.
Right. So in terms of our design, we are doing that as an open design from our HCN connectivity perspective. Our solution out of the box is to integrate with Commerce Server. Commerce Server has a component called Advertisement Server, and Commerce Server Plutonium, the 4.0 version, has a lot of improvements in terms of scalability and performance of the ad server, and that is what we want to offer out of the box with TV Server. However, Commerce Server will be totally bundled with the system. It has an integration layer that is available for you to install by default. The way on a higher picture, let's go from the bottom here. This is where the clients interact through IIS, and it goes to the WTE filter and to ISAPI layers. And this is where all the applications. All applications are COM components. They are ISAPI extensions which serve content. As part of delivering the content, applications may want to extract target ad or content. At that time, they would call ads or content and ad targeting services. Now, CAS is a defined layer that we have the interface. We're going to list that. This is standard available interface. And also, we actually, CAS publishes 2 different layers of interface. One is the API, the application program interface, so that TV Pack application developers can take advantage of that. But we also have an SPI layer at the back that allows you to plug in a different backend other than Commerce Ad Server to deliver your ads. Some of the competition in that space is NetGravity, Sipiter, and a variety of other technologies. The reason we want to do that is many of our MSOs may already have a solution in-house, and they wanted to integrate with us. And this SPI layer is not unique TV pack server. We are taking advantage of Commerce Server totally in this regard. The way we do that is Commerce Server has a technology called the pipeline, and it's the same thing as the MSO's architecture that you probably have heard about this morning for the build interface. And the pipeline, Commerce Server defines pipelines. It's a content selection pipeline and an event processing pipeline. These two pipelines are nothing but arrangement of multiple COM objects to complete the process of selecting an ad or the process of recording an event, like the ad was shown or the user clicked on the ad. Those kind of events be recorded also. Given that pipeline, all the MSO would have to do is basically write an appropriate COM component or set of components to integrate their backend. It could be a deployment time development option. It could be later that they do that anytime they just install something. From the cache perspective, we would always run those pipelines, and we just have no idea what components the pipelines end up calling inside that. All parameter passing is done through dictionary objects with the name value pairs. Any question on the backend integration? So that's the SPI layer. On the API layer, we talked about applications. We also have two other small pieces of ISAPI extension sitting down here. One is the SourcePod API server, which implements the SourcePod protocol that we talked about. And we have a content tracker. Content tracker is used for the delayed impression tracking. Once the SourcePod ad is delivered to the box, at a later time, the box can turn around, call content tracker, and report either an impression, meaning it's been shown for so many times, or a click. The user clicked on that, and the box calls the content tracker to register a click, and content tracker in turn will redirect the user to go to the page, the target of the ad. So at the initial time of ad delivery, we do not give out the URL to the box. The box has no idea what is the destination URL for a specific ad. When a click is made, the only destination URL the box knows about is content tracker with the parameter of the ad ID. And content tracker goes through all the layers to the backend ad storage, gets the corresponding URL, and redirects the user to go to the site. Any questions on that? Over here, this is kind of a different shade because this is not going to be implemented 1.0. Originally, we were trying to. That's why we see that here. But for the 1.0 time frame, this will not be there. And when we have that, video ads will be delivered to the client using CCS, the client configuration services. One more thing before I go to this one. I also have something here called TV server configuration system that has its own content storage. What happens if the ad back goes down for some reason? No users are going to complain if they don't see SourcePod ads. In fact, they won't know that they're not seeing those. However, they will if they see a hole in your app, your homepage appears, the frame, and nothing in there, then they will complain. So what we have is the default content storage mechanism that is XML-based, and it is accessed using our TV server configuration system. As a MSO, as a deployment manager, what a deployment person can do is to go in there and add a set of content. It can be 5 or 10 pieces of different content. When the ad system is down, CAS automatically reverts and goes into the default content storage. It retrieves the number of pieces that matches that specific application that is requesting an ad and chooses one randomly between the number of choices available. So that's the default content mechanism. And no matter what backend is being used, whether it's ours or somebody else implemented that, CAS always knows how to go to the default content to get the default content. So the default content, as we talked about, it uses the configuration services, and it is not targeted at all. We will talk about the extent of targeting that we support. There are about 40 different parameters that we support: the zip code, the time, the user ID, and the box's capability. A whole bunch of parameters are supported. In the case of default content, we wanted that to be lightweight, and it does not do any targeting except for the size. So if your home app has 2 boxes, one is a small one, one is a big one, and we don't want to match these content sizes and give a small ad for a bigger space and big ad for a smaller space. So the only target that the default content would do is the size that is given. An application, when it calls the content ad target services, specify the dimension, the width and height of the area that it is trying to fill. If it does doesn't care about that, it will say 0, 0. And then that is only targeting that would happen. Source part ad does not care about the size. It can be as small as needed, or it can be as to fill the entire space. So the source part application specifies 0, 0. And again, there's no click-through or impression tracking will be done for default content. In the case of default content, the destination URL will be sent along with the ad delivery to the client. So the client does not have an ad ID to talk about. It just uses the destination content to just go directly to wherever it's going. Just a fallback mechanism. It could be also used by CAS dynamically when the ad server is busy. If you have too many ads, too many campaigns in there, and it did not an answer from the ad system when it is running, just automatically reverts to the default content, and it can come back to talk to the backend server when that is available. Any questions on the default content? In terms of the other systems, we use Commerce Server backend integration with the pipeline. And the pipelines that I talked to you are the content selection pipeline and the processing pipeline. The content selection pipeline allows you to retrieve data. So what you would do here is, for the pipeline, you would supply all the targeting parameters, the client capability, the time, and all the parameters that you are interested in using for targeting. And the pipeline will end up by giving you however many ads you are asking. You may be asking for 5 ads. Sometimes for the source part ads, we have what is called low priority and a high priority ads. When the box does not have anything to do, it's sitting idle, it may talk to source part ad and say, all right, I'm not doing anything, give me some ads. No guarantees that I'm going to show to anyone. It's a low priority ad. At that time, box can specify a cache size. It says, I can store 5 of them. Give me 5. So then the client can make a decision when it wants to show what. So the content selection pipeline can do more than one ad depending upon how many requested. Event processing pipeline always acts on only one ad, takes the ad ID and records the event, and redirects the user to the destination URL. The content selection pipeline has different stages, and we do have recommended stages as defined by Commerce Server. These are the different stages that are currently there. If you install TV Pack Server, we have a pipeline for content selection that has all these stages defined in there. As an MSO deployment manager, you may decide to leave out some stages, or you decide to add some stages. It does not matter. But we have a template that defines all these stages. Number one is the load context. That's the client information, the targeting information, the application who is calling. The context is read from the dictionaries, and then it filters the content in terms of what all different contents that we have that can typically match here. And then it does an initial scoring, all these ads that passes the initial filtering. And then it does the final scoring and does selecting of all the ads that match the criteria. And here is the recording. The recording event basically records the fact that the ad is being delivered to the client. Like in our case, this is a no-op. We do not record at this point for our source parts. For the regular banner ads only, we do recording at that time because we know that the impression is already taken care of. For the source parts, we don't do any recording. And the final formatting is it returns the data in XML format, so CAS can take that and return that to the application calling. Question?
Yeah, can you just explain initial scoring and scoring it, and what is that?
The initial scoring is scoring our concept defined by the Commerce Server team in terms of how they want to shortlist the number of ads that are available. There are multiple criteria in there. For example, you may have a campaign that you find for the ad, which you want to deliver about a million hits, a million impressions by tomorrow. And according to the schedule, you are lagging. Whereas there's another piece of campaign that also an advertisement that also matches the criteria specified. However, it is ahead of your schedule. So what we do is in the initial scoring, we take only the ads that are lagging behind the scheduled hit rate, and then deliver. We do a final scoring based on the what is lagging. And we don't really, like, even though there are ads that may be totally matching the specification, we may end up giving an ad that is not as well targeted based on the revenue criteria. So it's just a segregation of the logic. And again, you can just replace them both with one scoring component that you want. Event processing pipeline has two steps. It just records the event impression or click, it writes to the event log, and then the cache redirects the user to destination. In terms of the content targeting, if you think of that end-to-end, there are two major steps that are involved, and they need to be kind of procedurally followed together. There is no enforcement in the system to make that happen. The first one is that the back ad storage system must be tagged with the appropriate tags. If you define a campaign with 15 ads in there, each of the ads may have some tags. So what the ad sales team typically does that they have to tag the different content with the appropriate tags. And then applications must specify those tag names to cache when they are selecting that. So there should be a synchronization of the tag names that are used in the ad storage and what the application specifies. And those names specify that. We have the names as we receive from the client. Like, for example, the client ticket has a whole lot of information about what the client capabilities are, what the user information are. And we use those tag names when we call the backend. And the backend storage needs to have the same kind of attributes. In terms of the names that we have these 5 different categories of parameters. We have request side parameters, which is the application-specific parameters. Environment attributes such as time zone, etc. Ticket attributes, what we receive from the client ticket. We have device and client attributes, capabilities, and then subscriber user attributes. All these attributes are available together to the backend targeting to make decisions on. In terms of the request side attributes, we have 4 of them: the height and width. We don't know what it is. Then we have what is called the service and region. Service is the name of the application. Like, for example, home is a service, mail is a service. And within that, we define this further granularity called region. The reason for that is you may have a home page. Currently, it has 2 different areas where you can have add or content delivered. You may, for example, or somebody else may define a new template for the home page that has 5 of them. So the region may have a different name upon which square that you're trying to follow. And the backend ad must be tagged those names so that you can match them appropriately. Then in terms of environmental attributes, you have the load time and the client version, what is the version of the TVPAC client that is running on the set-top box. Ticket attributes, I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is most of the things that you are you can see in the standard ticket in terms of the client user attributes and the client capabilities. And all of them get delivered to cache, and cache makes it available to the backend ad system to make the decision for targeting. Also, device and client attributes. I'll be more than happy to give you the slide. I won't read through all of them. And one question obviously comes in here. This is too convoluted names. Why do you have this kind of names? And some of them don't make any sense. Like, for example, this has some kind of like history to it. Go back one here. Let me see. Client supports Funk E, something like that. So I'm looking for that. So now it has Spot Ads 1 and Spot Ads 2. We define the original. Oh, there it is. The classical services. Client supports classic services. So there is some TV kind of historical background to these, and these are available in the ticket. We are currently thinking about providing some flexibility for the back-end operator to change these names. The way we are currently thinking about that is go to Atlas configuration system, the TVPAC configuration system, and provide these names and map that to different names. Some backends make that mandatory. Like, for example, a Civitar is not for competition in terms of ad serving machine, and they cannot have a tag name that is more than 10 characters in length. And we have really long names in here. So what the deployment time, you could just go into the configuration file and add a bunch of names, which are these, and map them to different names. If a name that is appearing here is not in that list, we'll never pass that over to the backend. So there's more control over the names, and what you want to pass to the backend can be achieved that way. All right. And in terms of, in addition to all these parameters, if the deployment is using Commerce Server, there is another way of doing targeting also, which is what we call the implicit profiling. Like, for example, take the example of AT&T. Let's say AT&T has a website where people go in there and subscribe to many of their services. It has nothing to do with their set-top box device. Let's assume that they go to their cellular services site, and they pick and choose what they want to do. Now, AT&T might want to do some targeted ads on the set-top box device for those users who have the long-distance service with AT&T, but do not have an international calling plan. So what they could do is they could run a query on their databases overnight and put that information into Commerce Server user profile tables. Once that is done, automatically those attributes are used for targeting as well, in addition to everything that we provide. Again, I want to make sure that this feature is not available if the MSO decided to use some other ad targeting system. It is available only for Commerce Server, and is using user profile manager as a mechanism for that. So as a deployment, what you will have to do is you will have to use Commerce 4.0 user profile designer and create additional fields. For example, has a long distance plan, yes or no. Has international calling plan, yes or no. And all the attributes must be populated to some other mechanism other than through TV Pack Server using standard SQL, standard data interfaces. And once that is done, then you are just done. You don't have to do anything to modify cache or any of your applications. It automatically takes into account all those implicit profiling. And also, the UPM has another facility to track the history. Like, for example, if I give you a Ford advertisement about a minute, I don't want to turn around and give you the same ad again. So we want to be able to track what kind of ads have been delivered to the user. And that is done through User Profile Manager as well. Currently, Commerce Server handles or remembers the last ads that are delivered to the user, so it makes sure that it's not repeated itself in the scoring process. And writing the ads that have been delivered to the user, we found that to be time-consuming. So we may, at the 1.0 time frame, remove the red event component off of the pipeline so that we will not track the history. And if you want that, you can go back and add that in, but there is a performance implication on that, which we really don't understand at this point. But we suspect that many of our customers may not want to have a lot of performance delays on that. With that, any questions on that? Questions?
Is there anything different about ads in the EPG? I mean, that's just a different size, different region, different, but it would work exactly the same way.
Question is there a difference between the ads that are in the UG grid? They are different size, they look different, but the same kind of concept. The answer is we will talk about that in the next presentation. And the short answer is that we will not do EPG ads in 1.0. But when we do that, EPG will call ads to get the ads.
I'm just wondering if there would be additional sensitivities about putting ads, if you've got video for one program, putting an ad for a competing program up against it.
Right. The Commerce Server has this really powerful expression evaluating where you can say exclude any ads that have this type. So not only does targeting based on what should be included, it can also targeting based on what should be excluded. So we can definitely use that facility to make sure that there are no conflicting ads on the EPG grid appearing. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Going to switch and go